Hello and welcome. My name is Stephen LeDrew. This is a show of vigorous discussion. When many shows and many news outlets have either their PMO approved notes or they don't want anything controversial, this show is about getting to the nub of it. You won't agree with all the positions taken, but you will agree that there's a thorough discussion. And right now we're going to have a thorough discussion of the election coming up. We have a new prime minister and we have lots of issues coming up. So, Susan Murray, welcome to the show. You are a dyed-in-the-wool progressive conservative, and you've been around politics a long time, I understand. And Brendan Caldwell, you like politics an awful lot, even though you admitted to me that you have supported more than one party in the past. So
I think I've been a member of 5 different parties at one point or another.
You don't strike me as a socialist. And Marc Kealey, you don't have a red tie on, but you have been a liberal your whole life. And since you have been closest probably to some guests, to prime ministers, let's just talk about the fact that Canada has a new prime minister. He was voted in by 150,000 people, around that, and he's untested. And a number of people are saying he shouldn't do anything until he goes to the people, until we have an election and Canadians decide who they want to be their prime minister. Do you agree with that?
Well, let me contextualize this. Probably you know this better. And you were a former president of a political party, so I think you understand this. This election where Mark Carney was elected was not a general election, or it wasn't about. It wasn't. Let me make my point. It was a party saying, "I want a leader."
Right.
So they have that right to do that.
Yeah, that is our tradition, the British parliamentary tradition.
Yes, the fact that the party that was choosing its leader happened to be government makes the leader of that party the prime minister de facto. So that it's almost a bit of an intellectually dishonest thing to say that we elected a prime minister, because we did not, and we don't elect prime ministers, we appoint them.
Yes, of course, but right as we go more presidential, people say that is the leader of our country, the prime minister. More people elect the dog catcher in Kerrobert than elected Mr. Carney. So from one point of view, even though it's tradition, a number of people are thirsting for an exercise in democracy.
Well, and I think they're gonna get that. But again, it's you raised it. You're sure, and I think he's got no choice but to call an election.
Let's call another partisan here, Susan Murray.
Well, I agree with Mark. We've had no parliament for an egregiously long time, and I think there's probably consensus among us about that.
I heard a huff to your left, so I don't know if there's consensus, but go ahead.
No, there's consensus. It's been egregious. It was a huff of agreement.
I love that.
Well, I think, democracies are under threat, so it's even more important, I think, that those of us who live in strong democracies demand it, which means, yes, as soon as the current Prime Minister, Mr. Carney, calls an election, and as Mark is saying, I believe it will probably be this Sunday, we have to get Parliament back. It really is hurting the country not to have a stable Parliament with all parties in session, hopefully voting in consent of what we need to do vis-a-vis the Trump administration.
Okay, so we have two of you saying we need to have an election relatively soon, and you had your harumph of agreement, so I'll assume that you want an election. I want to put another question to you then, Brendan, because if we have an election, what should Canada be deciding upon, aside from who's going to be prime minister? I mean, what's going to be the issue that Canadians are looking for?
I'm going to answer the first question, then I'll answer your question. The first thing is yes, I agree, Mr. Carney probably will do the right thing and probably will call an election. But I wouldn't be shocked down to my boots if he said this is too desperate a time for us to be uncertain as to the leadership of the country. I'm going to be continuing to govern for an extended period of time. I wouldn't be shocked.
He's your prime minister.
He's our prime minister.
It's true.
God bless you.
So I wouldn't be shocked if that were the case, that it was his predecessor's modus operandi. So I wouldn't be shocked to see that. Now, I think we should be deciding on issues. Mr. Carney has got a bit of a bump in the polls. His good looks, charm, and resume have helped him considerably. Maybe his handling of the trade has helped as well. But I think really we should be deciding on policies. If we're going to see very different policies going forward than what we've seen over the last 10 years, which I think the majority of Canadians feel that we are at a low point. Certainly our dollar's at a low point, our international standings at a low point, our economy's at a low point. I think we need to find different policies going forward than the ones we've had. And I think the election should be decided on that, not personality or coiffeur.
Which may be leading to a rehashed cabinet. We'll leave that for the break.